I try to keep just a modicum of credibility on this channel. Just a little bit, just like the smallest amount humanly possible just to keep everyone happy. So I'm starting this video off where I'm comparing these. I was sent both these DACs by Apos. They're both SMSL. They're both D400s. And one of them is like $300 more than the other. It uses AKMs times 3 versus ESS. And then I put in the own X8. Here, I just want you to watch this, because I'm going to switch between the inputs on that. And we're looking at the decibel meter here, but through the Ether V1s. Different DAC. Okay, so now that we know, I can stop that. So I've been listening, but now I'm going to stop the camera and do a little bit more listening now that I know that this is 100% correct. This is, by the way, a Radio Shack sound pressure level meter, or SPL. Yeah, okay. So now that I know that that volume knob there for that balanced DAC is the same as these fixed zeros here, we're going to do some listening with some headphones and see if I could hear a difference. Oh, God. Again. And by the way, I'll interrupt. Thank you for checking out the sponsorship link in the description. Please help this channel by clicking that link. I don't know where it goes. I never know where it goes. Also, I'm going to probably interject my general opinion of some animes during the middle of this, because this is going to be real boring for most of you. So I think every like 4 minutes, I'll just talk about a different anime that I'm watching currently. That'll be fun. That'll keep it interesting. That'll make it crazy. All right, well, there's no point in delaying this video's point. DACs do very little. How's that? How's that? All right, DACs don't do anything is a controversial opinion, so let's not give that opinion, and instead we'll say DACs do very little. So now, $6,000 Sysvars, $900 super linear speaker amp, which by the way has to be on high gain to run these. And the 3 DACs in question are very, well, these two I legitimately, if there's a difference, it's psychoacoustic, and I'm not a psycho, you're a psycho. But the own X8 Magic DAC, if you don't know what that is, go watch my review of that thing. It is a FPGA DAC, which means they have built literally a computer to do its thing. I think it uses a Saber DAC to start it, but then it also has op amps you could change, because a DAC, no matter the fact that it's a digital to analog converter, still needs an amplifier in it that amplifies the output, because it goes from very, very minute voltages and it brings it up to, like, in this case, balanced out 4 volts. So, or in the case of this one, 5 volts, which is just, there's weird numbers. But this DAC I brought in as the control. I can't do it. As the control, because I know this should sound different than every other DAC in the house, because I've got a specific, I put a different op amp in it. That's from a guy that we met at SoCal CanJam, Sonic Scientific. I think it was on his card, and he gave me a bunch of op amps, some of which were dead, but I put it in here, and so that should make this DAC sound different than other DACs. It's got balanced output, just like these do. It's got a volume adjustment, just like these do. And the topping LA90 is, as far as I'm concerned, a perfect headphone amplifier for this test. And I can just go boom, 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 and swap between it. So what we got to get down to is, can I hear the difference between at least this and these? And the answer to that will come right after I review Akiba Maid War. Or Akiba Maid Sensu, because I'm going to talk about TV anime shows I'm watching. So, holy fuck, that show. I can't stress this enough. Open it. Just watch, figure out where to stream the first episode of Akiba Maid War. There's like a little prelude thing that's like 45 seconds, a minute long. And then you have to skip the op, and the op is a banger. The opening of that show is a fucking, every time I watch a show, I watch it. However, skip it that first episode. Look up nothing about the show, put on the first episode. As soon as the op starts and you see the fucking coin flip, skip a minute and a half, watch the rest of that episode, and then contemplate why I hadn't started watching that show already. I don't want to spoil or anything. Let's just say that fucking maids can be scary. Yeah, so that's my little review of Akiba Maid War. I just want to give you all like a bump. Go watch Akiba Maid War, Akiba Maid Sensu. So yeah, I can absolutely hear a difference between the Own X8 Magic deck and both of these. What I can't hear a difference is between these two decks. And we should probably discuss what the fuck is inside of them. By the way, if you want to watch me review all of my anime that I'm watching in more in-depth, I'm putting that on the second channel. If you're not following me, Zeo's second channel, go follow Zeo's second channel. I guess I'll have to link in the description Zeo's second channel. So they were nice enough, Apos was nice enough to provide a little thing here that shows the differences between these two decks. Because the price differences, they're currently on sale, both of them. I'm not sure if that's because yesterday was Cyber Monday or whatever, but the retail value, like the full value, the Saber deck here is $800 and this one is $960. That's off sale prices. Currently $815 and $679. So not like peasant prices for decks. Like you're like, I'm looking for a deck, bro, and I got like nearly $1,000, over $500. The Own on the other hand is currently on sale for $254, plus whatever the op amp would cost. I don't know how much that guy charges because he just handed me a handful of them. So that's like a $250 deck, but it's the Magic deck, and there's a reason I love it because it's the Magic deck. It also has a lot of interesting like options and features. So we now have at least a layout of the price: expensive, less expensive, super, relatively affordable, under $300. Which even for a deck might be too much. But anyway, this diagram, I can move it around everywhere. That's cool. Literally states that the difference between the two, the Saber one uses a single 9039 MS Pro, and for the first time ever in human history, a triple AKM deck. Triple! They're back in business. Buy them all and shove them in a fucking box. So this uses an AK-4191 and two AK-4499 EXs. The difference in op amps, because it literally has the op amp differences. This contains 11. This is the Saber one, by the way, on the right. This is the cheaper one on the right. The contains 11 OPA 1612A op amps, while this one, on the other hand, contains 9 op amps total, 5 OPA 1612As, and 4 LME 49720s. Oh my God! How could you go wrong? There's a slight difference in total harmonic distortion plus noise, and I mean like 1 decibel, 123 below and 124 below, versus 123.5 and 125. It's like this is, and then the max output level is actually a relatively significant amount. The AKM does 4.7 volts RMS, and the D400 ES does 5.2. So that's actually a noticeable little, like a little bit of volume. However, I have them both on 0 right now and fixed, because both of these decks do a very interesting thing, and I kind of like it. I didn't know this was even a feature. I didn't read it anywhere in the thing. Let's go back out. We need to see whatever is happening there. When you set it to a fixed volume, because it has a standard menu where you go through, it's like pre-out thing. You want a pre-out as a DAC or as a preamp where you could adjust the volume using the remote control. They both use the same remote control. It's this remote. When you set it to locked, fixed, it fixes at whatever the volume was. So if you have this volume at -6.5 decibels and you set it to a fixed output, that's it. It's now fixed at -6.5. Right off the bat, that alone is pretty much worth, like, considering a DAC like this. It's nice. Also, can I point out the fact that they've not stolen the Matrix like design, or what was the unit? Yeah, with the ridges on the side for heat dissipation, the black, thick, and then they got the silicone feet, and there is a slight variation in the finish. And I don't know if this is just different factories or just different manufacturing days. This one is slightly whiter. This one's a little more silver, a little bit more dark. And I didn't notice it until I was literally underneath all these fucking lights, so it probably wouldn't affect you. Just know that you might get a bright white silver or like a sort of reduced gray silver. I guess I should tour the units before I continue talking about things. Actually, no, let's start with the next anime in the list. My Hero Academia. Okay, so that's like, everyone knows it. That's like the Dragon Ball Z of toy. However, we're at season 6, and holy fuck, if you thought Okay, but it's not going anywhere. My Hero Academia is not going anywhere. When are we going to go somewhere? We go somewhere in season 6. I didn't watch the first 4 episodes. I waited till I had 4 episodes before I watched it. And I kind of wish I would have waited till we had the whole season, because it's one continuous giant free-for-all fight between the good and the bad. The whole season. The whole season is like shonen fucking Sakuga. It's insane. The whole season. And it has this like standard like breakups in the fight where they have a flashback. But it's non-stop. There's not like, oh, we're going to school and it's a normal day. There's no normal days. Season 6 is like, this is what you've been waiting for. You've earned this fight from the first 5 seasons. And the very beginning of the season started off with like a flash forward. So you know how it's going to end up. And it's just like the fucking terror of knowing how we're going to get to that from where we are, because it's bad. It's a bad case scenario, not a bad show. I actually like Hero Academia. Anyway, let's tour the units. They're identical other than the color. So I'll use this one since I think I have a little bit more. No, wait. Nope, this is the one that has more slack. Do you guys approve of the headphones I use to test? Because I'm like, I needed a close back to try to eliminate the things. And then I know I was using these for the last SMSL test, which I did last night, which is 2 SMSL DACs I couldn't hear the fucking difference of. I got fucking, what's it called, guns. Daniel Radcliffe guns. So bottoms, nothing. Feet, ribs on the side, very, 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 very stately. Haven't slathered it with the waifus because I might send these back to fucking A-Post. I'm not sure. After this review, they might be like, you probably shouldn't keep them. Anyway, the front. Screen, nice screen, a standard screen and all their fucking stuff. I don't know if I like the completely flush jog shuttle. It has no divot. It's just like, it's a circle and you can turn it and it's milled in a way that you have a little bit of grip. I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine. I'll take it. It's a design feature. Power, menu, function. So function now switches between unbalanced, all line out, or balanced. I'm using just the balanced outputs. The menu brings you in here, which is the modes, the actual menus change between the two a little bit. Just a little bit. We'll go over that in a second, but we'll get out of that now for a second. Bluetooth, you can change your inputs on this. I'm using I2S because since I'm using the Singzer SU6, I have 2 of those. I can just have dueling II2S. This is the best case fucking scenario for these DACs to perform well, by the way. Is like you have I probably got pulled out and shut it off. You have dual II2S, which what this does is it offloads some of the processing. It does things. It's the best one. It's the HDMI connector here. It's a full-fledged HDMI. That's your source. Very few people have this, but I have it, and I'm using it. You got your USB, your optical, your coaxial digital, your AES EBU, which is basically coaxial, but you could use a XLR cable for like running 50 feet. Mostly used in like professional studios. You've got your XLR outputs, you got your RCA outputs, and you got a Bluetooth antenna, which is not attached because I'm not testing Bluetooth on a $900 DAC. It'll probably be fine. That's it. I also want to recommend, static tension. I also want to specify that in the last review I did of the SU10, which has a very similar quirk, speaking of My Hero Academia, to this, where everything's fucking upside down. And I didn't mention it in that video. Everything's upside down. You know when you plug in an XLR cable and it's got this little lock button on the top of it? Yeah, no, it's on the bottom of it. Look, there are the feet, and there's the lock button. In fact, even the goddamn fiber optic usually has a flat bit on top and then the boxed ends on the bottom. Backwards. Everything's up top. Everything's upside down. USB's upside down. Fiber optic's upside down. The ABS BBU is upside down. The XLRs are upside down. So they mounted the board. They were probably building it like this, and for some reason they mounted it like that. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't know what they did that for, but it's fine. I mean, it's maybe it's not like it generates a lot of heat. Like, I don't know why they did it, but just know that when you go to unplug your XLRs, the button's not up here, it's underneath. It's fucking weird. And you go to plug in your fiber optic cable, and I'm like, I know it should go, There's a tour of the unit. A little bit weird, a little bit quirky. These will accept, I think, full, yeah, they'll do 100 to 240 without a switch, so you're good with that. I2SB was still plugged in. They're rather handsome. They need these gone. These are stickers you could get the fuck off there. They need stickers to be peeled the fuck off. I don't like high-res audio stickers. You're spending $900. This is like when you go to a dealership and the dealer puts a fucking dealer plate on your car, and he's literally like, "Oh yeah, from McKirky." I keep them up here. Look, I'm gonna fill the entire fucking heat thing with just high-res audio stickers. They'll be covering the whole thing at some point. Like, leave it the fuck off. I like when companies just provide them in the box. Like, here, you can put the sticker on if you feel like, but don't put it on my fucking expensive unit. I know it's high-res audio. I'm paid for the high-res audio. I guess we should talk now about the actual sound. Right after we talk about the next anime and the thing. Because I got to keep people interested. Chainsaw Man. All right. Do I need to talk about it? People are a little confused because we're like 5-6 weeks in and it isn't the top anime of all time. I think the problem with Chainsaw Man was the first episode came out and I heard so much hype that like everyone's dick was so erect that we were all calling the doctor because it's been hard for more than 6 hours. And I'm not a huge fan of CG fights. I did not like the CG fighting at the beginning of the quote-unquote last season of Attack on Titan, and it sort of like ended with a huge fight, good setup, but the CG felt jank. And the problem was I had to think about that jank CG for a week because they only brought out one episode of Chainsaw Man because that's what they do. I don't like the dump Netflix binge method. I hate that. I like weekly, but I felt like maybe they should release 2, maybe 3 episodes of Chainsaw Man at the same time to sort of get you past that jank thing and into like the actual meat of the story, and then do weekly. So it's fucking fantastic, by the way. Like, I'm excited every time I go sit down to watch an episode. It's great. It's just that first episode is like you have to watch that, and then if you had to wait a week, it was like the whole thing and a bunch of people. It's fine. It's great. It's a great show. It's great. It's literally a great show. It's literally a great show. It's great. It's a great show. It's very well put together. It's a great show. Anyway, moving on. So I hear in this, the Own X8 Magic Deck, the difference I hear, because I literally, no matter how many AKM DACs you put in this, once I balanced it with the fucking Radio Shack level meter, and I'm bouncing between input 2 and input 3, with input 2 and input 3, input 2 and input 3, cannot tell a difference. AKM, ESS, at least on, and I could hear a difference when I reviewed the FIO K9, because the FIO K9, I got the AKM version, and I reviewed it and I fucking loved it. It was great. And then I got like 3 or 4 weeks later, the ESS version of the FIO K9. And I'm like, well, this isn't going to make a difference. And I actually heard a difference. Something in the FIO, smell walnuts? Something in the FIO changed. And it wasn't just the DAC because the power went up. Well, then again, it could also be like the output of this. This one has a little bit more voltage on the coming out of the DAC ass, the ass of the DAC, that you could adjust with the volume that goes up to like +4 instead of just +2. So that could have been what was changing in it, that they just had more oomph going into the amps, and there was still a THX amps, but the FIO K9, I could hear a difference between AKM and ESS. Barely, but there was enough of a difference that I'm like, I always want to use the ESS one. I don't want to use the K9 one, the K9 AKM. With this, maybe my hearing isn't as what it needs to be. Maybe the equipment I'm using isn't up to spec. Maybe the world's best cables that are all fucking matching aren't matching hard enough. I mean, I'm literally in my 24-bit FLAC folder. I'm not even in my regular stuff. I was listening to my regular stuff, and I'm like, no. 24-bit. Speak like a child from the ultimate fucking audiophile demonstration. Like, I'm trying. I haven't gone to DSD, but I'm using fucking Wasapi out, dedicated through a fucking $600 digital-to-digital converter into all these things, into an amplifier that literally sounds as good, if not a little bit better than I think the A90D. As far as like, it has less features and options, but it's fucking powerful. And I literally, I can't apart these two. I can't. I thought maybe, and then I closed my eyes and switched through it randomly. And I'm like, okay, what am I on? And then as soon as I was on this one, I'm like, all right, I know I'm on that one. The Aoun's sound difference compared to these two is there's a shape change in the mid-range. And I know you're going like, what do you mean a shape change, Zeos? And I mean that on a fucking certain song, and it was PEB Techmaster, which is like the bassiest like 90s. Did you build a car with $30,000 in stereo equipment in the back of it? You want to shake the doors off? That's what PEB Techmaster is. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's like the digitalist bass ever. And I had a song on, and when I went from this to that, a certain level of mid-range got wider and further away in a pleasant way. Sounded exactly the same, sounded exactly the same, sounded like that. It was just this. You can't fucking fathom the increment of like, oh, like if you blind tested me 3 days in a row, one day on a DAC, one day on another DAC, and one day on another DAC, and you said, hey, which DAC were you listening to on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? I would have a fucking clue. This had to be a live, like listening to a song. Maybe I didn't even have to back it up because it's pretty fucking monotonous. It doesn't change. But it was like listening to it, click, still listening to it, click. Ooh, I think I hear it's like the mid-range gets like a hump, and then it gets higher mid-range and then slightly further back. But this is the most modified DAC I've got in the fucking house, other than the Prozor DAC that Golden Sound sent me. I'm not going to compare it to the Prozor DAC. It sits up on the shelf there, by the way, by the waifus. Because that thing's a pile of garbage. I know it's a pile of garbage. You can make a bad DAC. These are both very good DACs. This is like what I've designed this for with that op-amp changes. I want a DAC that sort of like steps things back and smooths things out. I'm trying to get archoir without archoir. I was going to shoot out with the Aries too. And I'm like, that doesn't have a volume control, which makes it very difficult. I'd have to match these to that. And also, I felt like I wanted something just cheaper, because that's also $800. I wanted the cheap, very different option, the one that's going to ground my expectations. So these are both fully fucking competent DACs. Fully competent. But are they as competent as... Okay, I'm watching Immoral Guild, which is also known as Futoku no Guild. And it's beautifully drawn, yet somehow jankily animated, has a terrible story, but there's titties. So, I mean, it's Immoral Guild. Immoral things happen, but the dude is just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be with these... It's an interesting isekai because the dude... We don't meet the dude... Like, the dude is almost irrelevant. He just doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be training these hot girls all the time. He doesn't want to be getting into... He just doesn't want. He's got a heart of gold, but he just doesn't fucking want. And then their titties come out. Or they get... Literally, one of the girls gets assaulted by every creature in the woods because she says a pheromone thing. And that just, like, he goes out with her and she's like, oh, fuck, she can't even attack anything. She just keeps getting it. It's him just being upset at these hot girls getting molested. It's great. It's one of those, like, you have to put that between the Chainsaw Mans and the Boku no Hero Academias, because it's like, these are two very, very, lots of things happening, very important. No. Titty monsters. I need a titty monster show to, like cleanse the palate. So, yeah. Immoral Guild, not up to the levels of what we had with Roxanne and starting a harem in a labyrinth, whatever that was from last season. That was a hentai with an amazing plot. This is just sort of like, ha, ha, ha. Really well drawn. Like, every screenshot looks like someone actually drew it and isn't just like a blurry slideshow. But, yeah, no. So, I might not get through many more animes. If you want to see my full list of animes and things I've watched, and TV shows, second channel, don't forget that. So, what I'm going to end this review, because all I can go through now is the different settings in the menu. So, here, I hit... There. So, now we're both on input. Inputs is your options, basic. Output, so I go in there, the same things. We go back. PCM filter. Linear fast. This one actually, they have to have different filter settings. I don't know why. This one has low dispersion. This one has low dispersion. Then there's super slow, short slow, short sharp, slow roll off. This has minimum slow, minimum fast, linear slow, linear fast. And if you go up, you can go through all the different sharp roll off, appetizing, minimum phase, and then this goes back to low dispersion. So filter off. Filter off. I didn't know there was a filter off option. This doesn't have a filter off option. This one, the Saber one actually has more filter settings. but they both have low dispersion, so I'm on that, whatever that is. Maybe that's what's affecting the whole test. I don't know. What do you mean unrecoverable stream error? Thank you. So let's go back. All right, DSD filter. DSD filter on the Saber DAC is your 4 options of 47, 50, 60, and 70. On the AKM, it's just wide or narrow. Not running DSD, doesn't matter, but that's like, okay, 2 different options. Sound color. The reason you'd buy a modern DAC, the reason you buy a modern SMSL DAC, I said this in the other review of the SU9 Pro and the SU10. With sound color, and oh, they're different. Oh God, they're different. So the AKM one, this is the standard one I'm used to. The Saber DAC has 10 settings, which is this many. Standard, which means no color options. Then rich, 1, 2, 3 for different levels of richness added. Then tube, 1, 2, 3 for different tube added. And then, oh, for fuck's sake. And then crystal for different levels of crystal added. And crystal tweaks the treble up a little bit. And tube tweaks the low end a little bit. And rich tweaks like everything a little bit. And I'm okay with that. If you're a purist, you're not touching those. But I'm not a purist. I want to enjoy myself. And if I find that there's a headphone that's like maybe a little bit sibilant or an IM, and I could turn on like the rich filter and just like, I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. Don't threaten me. Now this one has it different. This one, instead of having 10 things, this has 4 things. Sound 1, sound 2, sound 3, and sound 4. And sound 1 and 2 are labeled 5.6 million. And sound 3 and 4 are labeled 11 million. I haven't played with those yet. Maybe those sound amazing. I assumed it was gonna be the same, but this fucking thing. Oh, and that's another thing. There's no off on sound color on this. It's just sound 1. There's no description. You can update the firmwares on these, by the way, manually. You can plug them in and do things. I just got them from the factory. They're here for 3 days. I'm running them. Let's get. So I guess I'll leave that on a standard, and that one sound 1. Then you get to pre-mode, which now the difference is again, you get variable and fixed settings on this. Very basic. I'm on fixed. These outputs have no volume control, or variable where there is. This also has variable and fixed, but then it also has fixed DSD bypass. So I think when you use a DSD file, if you put it in that, the DSD file will set the output voltage. I've never seen one that has that option before. 1 point for the AKM, the more expensive one. So at least there's a difference. At least I'm finding differences in here, if not through my ears. Function key 4, I fucking fucked that up. What you could set the function key to do, outputs, Bluetooth, or phase, because that's that button. You could decide what that button does. Outputs is fine. Then this goes to DPLL, which stands for, oh, Jesus Christ, I used to know what DPLL stands for. You could look it up, all right? You don't need me to tell you. The default value is 5. I leave it alone. This doesn't have a DPLL, I don't think. Yeah, no, this is lacking a DPLL. But this has I2S mode, I2S DSD channel, and then audio phase. And this goes DPLL, I2S mode. So this has I2S channel, and this has I2S only mode. And then you go down to audio phase, which you can invert the audio phase, which means instead of it going out during a beat, it'll go in during a beat. Some people hear it. Some people need that. I don't know why you would. They keep including it on expensive DACs like it's going to do something. Then you get dimmer, which is for the screen and the timeout. Then you get brightness, which is for the screen. Both are up all the way, yet somehow... maybe it's just because it's on yellow. That might just be because it's on yellow. I think the brightness... No, you know what? This one's definitely brighter. Variation in units. The AKM has a brighter screen. Also, they shipped, and when I turned them on, they had different brightnesses set in their screens. Also, when I turned them on for the first time, one of them had the volume at +2, and the other one had +3. Don't know why. Don't know why. And then reset to reset the whole unit. So there you go. We're now out of that. I've traveled through the menu. You know there's a couple differences in the menu, the way the AKM is handling things versus the Saber. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do one more. I know you guys are thirsty for it. I'm watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm on season 5. What could I say about JoJo? Just start watching JoJo. I actually liked the first season. Everyone's like, oh, you don't get to the crazy JoJo stuff until like at least the second, and then it gets really fucking wild on the 4th. But it's like, it's all good JoJo stuff. JoJo is great. And then Mousama was not a good adaptation. They fucked up. How do you fuck up, bring your show back after 8 years and then you fuck it up? The characters don't even look the same in part-time Demon Lord. Devil is a part-timer. Thank you. I figured it out. Mousama is Devil's a part-timer. It's meh. I honestly, watch the first season and pretend the second season doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Haven't finished it yet, though. Yeah, no, there's nothing else I could tell you about these decks. It's going to be one of those, if you believe, it's like fucking Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. If you believe that because this one costs, or because this one costs an extra $200 over this one, that it's going to be better, then, you know, go with your heart, my child. Or don't, because you listen to me. You could absolutely just take this one and never look back. But what I've discovered, you know, over the years of doing this with all the fucking headphones on the earth, is that a lot of times, as long as you get past a certain price point in a deck and no one is complaining that it's faulty, a deck's a deck, motherfucker. The amps matter. Limit yourself to like a $500 deck. Let me guide your whole rest of your fucking audio personal life. $500 on a deck. That's it. Whether it's save up a little bit and get like one of these, like $600 on sale, or get the own and buy a couple op amps to change it, or just, you know, the R2R. I have to say, the R2R Ares 2 from Denafrips, that actually has a sound difference that I've been able to notice. That's it. As soon as you crest that $1,000 fucking mark on a DAC, it had better have home automation technology inside of it. It better listen to your music and then determine your mood and then send orders to food and have them deliver food, because that's what you need. You either need to have, like, I need a remote that's metal. It does 97 inputs. If it has features, you could break the $500 rule. If it has features you need. These are relatively basic decks. None of them have like a killer feature that, oh, I can control with the app and it's got a streaming built in. They're not that. These are basic boxes. They do their job just fine. But you could do your job for less. And if I can't tell the difference on Sasfara and Diana Fee and the fucking Mad Dog, Mr. Speaker's fucking Ethers, if I can't tell the difference on one of my favorite, like, this amp powers everything great. I love this amp. I do IMs on this amp and all the way to Sasfara on it. You have to use a cable. I'm using a double helix cable, not even the one I made, in case you're like, oh, but Zeos, you made that cable. It's only copper. No, silver, motherfucker. All right? Don't judge me, even though I am using hard audio cables, and people are going to be like, hard audio cables? That's not even a real cable. It's good enough. It's good enough to know if you need to spend an extra $200 or an extra $500. It's good enough. We all have to come to that point in our lives where we realize, hey, maybe my audio is good enough. And if you can't, seek counseling. Like, legitimately, BetterHelp.com is sponsoring. No, they haven't sponsored me. Didn't he fire everyone? Didn't the BetterHelp guy fire everybody? I think he did. Anyway, links to these. Thank you, Apos. When I opened up the boxes and I saw they were the same, I'm like, oh, good. Here comes emotional damage. But at least I get to talk about anime and the big titties. So we're good, right? We're all good here. We're working it out. Thanks for clicking the sponsorship link in the description, by the way. Everyone who clicks that, you get to see who my sponsor is for this week. And the more people who click that, the more people who want to put their sponsor link in there, so the more people who will sponsor this channel. And if they sponsor the channel, that's great. Because then I don't have to worry about, like, if they take these back and I don't put them in the fucking yard sale. Because that's why there's no anime stickers on it. I took off those, but if they, let's say, hey, keep them, yard sale. It'd be nice. The fact that they are identical output volumes with like at zeros means I could legitimately really fuck up audiophiles, and I could do something like this. Where's my hole? Baby, I find the hole. See now, oh, that's a short one. It's just a shorter run. See, now what I could do is, now when I put on the music, now I'm using a different DAC per side, which is a different. I'm AKM in my left, and ESS in my right, and that should make you fucking crazy. But I can't hear a difference, so fuck it. Although I do have a thing on dual DACs. I thought those, because the jitter would be slightly off. This might actually make it sound better. Oh wait, no, I gotta be on them now. And then this one's the opposite. You know, I have to do some listening because I have a theory. I have a theorem. I'll tell you that. I'll do one more anime review thing, and then I'll do the theorem, because who cares how long this video is? No one's watching to the end anyway. Mob Psycho Season 3. What a fucking show. It's such an adult thing, and it's like, if you watch One Punch Man, who did One Punch Man wrote Mob Psycho. I think it's a way better story. Like, everyone loves One Punch Man. I'm not shitting on it. I'm shitting on Season 2 of One Punch Man. But Mob Psycho, consistently first, consistently second, and now third. The third season feels like we have less, like, stakes. Less things are at stake in the third season. But just following around Mob and looking at the character animations and the way they present, like, emotional things, it's fucking fantastic. Mob Psycho is just, it's about a kid who's a psychic who can literally do anything. And he's just like, I just want to be normal. It's the opposite of One Punch Man, where he just wants to find a fight and he's the strongest. But it's the same thing, because he's the strongest. He just doesn't want to be. He just wants to fit in. And that's great. Anyway, my theorems between doing what I'm doing right now, which is wholly illegal, and no one would ever do this, is I have two of the same exact source going into two separate boxes, and I'm using the left channel in one and the right channel in another into an amplifier. So it's literally monoblock DACs right now, is the way I have it set up. Both of these are monoblock DACs, so just reversing which one is which. And the problem with that is, or, well, hold on, wait a minute. The problem with that is that when you do a DAC in one box, the timing is perfect because it's the same box. But minute changes in temperature and structure, and if this has a different processing thing because it's got different op-amp, the minute changes might mean that instead of perfect, it is off. But not off to the point where I can, like, actually hear, like, oh, this one's first and this one's second. It's just, it jitter. The jitter will vary when one is playing first and when the other is playing. And I've tested this with very cheap DACs, and I enjoy the phenomenon. If you want a DAC to sound different, get two. Get a fiber optic splitter for $12. Get two fiber optic cables, plug in the same exact DAC with fiber optic, plug a left channel out of one and the right channel out of the other, and plug them into your amp. And all of a sudden, you have two different boxes that are, like, trying to be the exact same. Like, they're really trying. But, you know, life's fucky like that. So if they're off by microseconds in front or behind, that changes the way soundstage is perceived. Because I think I hear a difference now between this, and I might like it more. I'll play with it a little bit. I don't want to make this whole video about that. We had enough. We've had enough. I've had enough. I want to go make food and not talk about DACs until the next fucking DAC. Well, actually, the Earman is at least a stack with an amplifier, so that's a DAC. But there is actually another DAC over there, which is a tube DAC. That makes it interesting because, like I said earlier, DACs need an amplifier to push the signal up to the voltage you leave. So why not amplify it with a tube? So we'll get to those. Anyway, Wallpaper in the Horde, Patreon and Subscribe Star will help me purchase the medications I need to keep sane. So thank you. They'll also feed the cats who are humping each other even though they're boys and brothers. Not that I'm against any gay relationships, but it's like, I feel like it's just a lack of options here. It's like prison gay. That's the sort of, like, they're like, why are you humping each other? Oh, lack of options. So help me keep my cats healthy and me healthy with Patreon and Subscribe Star, where you could see reviews early, participate in yard sales, which if the companies are like, yeah, we don't need these, it's fine. Both, including the SU10 and the fucking SU9 Pro, will probably be in the yard sales. Get them for whatever price you want. I ship free to Canada, United States, and half shipping international. So you can get your cheap-ass DAC going on. Pay what you think a DAC is worth. And then for $10 a month, actually also for $5, you get to see and hear sound demos off the YouTube platform, where I can play anything I want and put the titty wallpapers on in hardcore mode. And it's great. It's great. It's just I get to relax and listen to music I actually enjoy and share it with you. Because you can't do that on fucking YouTube. At $10 a month, you get to a private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat where you could ask me questions like, hey, Zeos, why are you such a bad reviewer? Come in the $10 chat. You could ask me that. I know I got your $10. And then you could ask me any questions about real things, and you could ask the other people who are in their real things, and you also get into a lifetime swap meet chat where you can buy, sell, and trade gear with other members. After watching this video, I presume there'll be a lot of people who are just selling their expensive DACs to, you know, invest in a new barbecue or get a massage. There's so many things you could just donate to charity. Get that crown on that tooth that you were putting off for so many years because you saved so much on Dax. Yeah, no, I'm good. You're good. Hi-Fi Guides is good. If you haven't been to the forums, I try to use those more and more, like for gathering up, like, hey, opinions and things. What should I buy? I still have to go do that. But yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Check out the sponsor link. Thank you. And wallpaper in the Horde. Thank you. Oh, God, just take the shit off and I'll sleep.